Evening all. Good. Boys. Alright, cameras when we're good to go. Yep, take it away.
Cheika, you speak some Italian. What were some of the Italian words you were saying there?
Depends on what part of the game. No, I don't think. I think there's Google Translate now, so I can't really say, can I? But sometimes you're going mad because I'll tell you why. Because we create excellent play, and then try to throw a cutout pass. Instead of just giving it to the guy next to him, he'll give it to the guy next to him, like we did on the last try, and give it to the guy next to him and go and score. And they're the small disciplines we need to start bringing into our game, so we can be more consistent. Right, so that way you get out of that wave of up and down, when you do something really quite good, and then you try and, you have a good opportunity to nail it, and we do, those types of things hurt us in the game.
Do you think that was a better performance than the Scotland game?
Yeah, from the things that are important to us right now, around the ruck and the ruck contest, for our attack, yes, for our defence, yes, from the set piece, no, for in particular the scrum. Line out was okay, thought. I think for the things that are important to us from a work rate perspective, etc. Yeah, a few things. Again, we gave away an intercept, and we're trying to do things off counter, which is pretty obvious that we're trying to shift the ball and get it going. And if we don't start trying to do more of that work and bring the ball back instead of kick it back, we don't want to kick it back. We want to bring it back. So whenever we get those turnovers, we made a few blues off that, but we'll get better with that going forward.
What are the concerns around the scrum? What do you think was?
I just think boys I think we had some really good scrums. I thought the first couple of penalties that went against us there were harsh. I thought we were pretty square on those. The Italian scrum kept moving to the left, right, and then we kept trying to move with them instead of staying in front of them. We just let them move away from us instead of staying in front of them. That's why there was a lot of collapses. The distance went further away, and then he felt that was Toby wasn't staying up at that time, and even no matter what's right or what's wrong, you've then got to get in closer. You've got to stay in front of your prop. And you've got to keep the scrum up, keep the weight against that. And we didn't do that, and therefore the perception went against us and we got penalised for it. We didn't actually get pushed backwards. It was more the collapsing stuff that was hurting us.
Are you concerned at all that the Wallabies tend to play down to the level of their opponent?
Mate, I think that's that we've got to grow, like our mental toughness has got. We've spoken about it internally, you know what I mean? Just about improving. I think our chat's improving on the field, at solving more problems on the field. I think that's a real thing. Like no excuse. Doesn't matter if you're playing number 1 in the world, number 5 in the world, number 20 in the world. Doesn't matter, whatever circumstance occurs, no excuse. Let's just go out there and do it. And we're that's not going to come overnight. We've been onto that, and trying to do that whether it's on our work rate or our physicality, and I believe we'll get there. I really do, But it's about leaving no doors open. Everyone's saying this is what we have to do to be the best.
When you talk about, I guess, those intercepts and that sort of thing, do you think it's something you can solve in the next 8 weeks before the blood is slow? Is it something that will be longer than that?
Well, it's just about discipline to what's playing the footy that we want to play, So we've got to, at a certain point, you want to say, we've just got to say, with the pressure and with the fatigue of the game, this is what happens, so it becomes automatic. And that just takes repetition, getting out there and repeating it. And I thought that, we were better at that today than we were last week. We still cost ourselves with a few silly, handling. I think not as much the catch, more about going for the pass that's not on. Whereas we had a great counter attack down there. All the Petty needs to do is shift that ball straight to the guy next to him, and we're running away. The second touch, that's what we want to get. We want to get the second touch. Forget about just scoring in one touch. Get the second touch and score from that. And that's just staying at it, you know, and yeah, okay, I know there'll be people who'll be unhappy about this, but it's about us staying at that, you know, because when we did do it in the game, we scored some nice tries and did some good work. When they come up and play high line like they did, you've got to throw the ball either short or over the top of that, which I thought Carmichael made some good choices there. But, you know, that's the way. When they're staying off you or they're in front of you and you've got the numbers, you've got to play it that way.
How do you go about, I guess, instilling that automatic nature?
Just keep training. Just keep doing it.
You don't see the guys for another month. Is it Super Rugby franchises?
Just ask them to stay at it, and then when we get them together, stay at it and just stay at it. Like, that's the only way to build those habits, is to stay at it. There's no magic pill for anything, right? There's just training hard, staying at that, being disciplined on that, and it'll come. It'll come. I think over the 3 weeks we've been able to get a bit more of that. I think but we've got to be more consistent with it on game day.
Michael, Carmichael made a comment just out on the field saying that if you play like you did today, the All Blacks will kill you in 8 weeks' time. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think that the idea for me as the coach is not to make that type of assumption, you know what I mean? Because it's a nice statement for the paper. The idea for me is to go, yeah, the performance wasn't up to winning that match for sure, but we've got to do stuff in the next. We've got to get our work right in the next, you know, whatever it is, 6 to 8 weeks that is left before that first test, so that we don't play like that and we play much better.
What's Seth's injury?
Ankle. He's going for a scan now, so we'll see how he comes up.
Will you be taking the players into camp as soon as they finish their Super Rugby? So
they'll get a few days. They'll get a few days free, and I'll talk to the lads about that. And then there'll be a mix of, you know, training in their home base and training in camp together before we get together 2 weeks out from the first test.
Steve, what do the players have to do now when they go back to Super Rugby over the next period? What do players need to go back and do before that All Blacks test?
I think that continue to train at the intensity that we've been training for the last 3 weeks. It was clear when we came into camp that a lot of the Super Rugby teams aren't training at the intensity we need to be training here. So we need to try and drive that, and obviously that comes, you know, the coaches have got planning around that to do some extra stuff and get us to where we need to. So that's the long and the short of it.
Can you talk to that, Cheik? You have expressed your concerns about the fitness, but is there some extra stuff the super coaches are going to be doing?
Oh, we'll be asking them, yeah. We'll be asking them over the next few weeks for sure, because I think after a certain time you start to acclimatise to a higher workload, you know, and it doesn't rattle you, you know what I mean? But we have to do it. If we didn't do it over these 3 weeks and start that, it'd be too late for later on. And yeah, maybe that's taken the edge off some of our performances because we've been going hard at them, right? But they're the risks. Well, I don't think that's a risk. I think that's a necessity. So that was not the right thing. You know, that's a convenient thing to say. That's a risk. That's not a risk at all. We have to do that. We have to, and we've been doing it. We've been going hard at them over these 3 weeks. And yes, there'll be the edge off the players on the field a little bit. I understand that, but to be at the level we need to be to defeat New Zealand, we need to be, and you know, like I know that in everyone's mind there, everyone's having a laugh when I say that right now in their heads, everyone at home, when you report on this, right? But I believe that with that clear goal, we can go up there and do that, and we've got to work extra hard, and we've got to be prepared to work even harder once we come out of Super Rugby for that little block to be ready, because at least the fitness base can let us be in the hunt. Then from there, it'll be up to how good of footballers we are.
It's a pretty big responsibility for the super coaches, and I guess, like in the scheme of things coming up and how sort of bad the fitness side of it might have been sort of leading into it.
How do you mean? Sorry, what's the question?
It's a big thing for the super coaches to have to sort of improve on.
What, in the next few weeks?
Yeah.
You mean?
Like
oh, no, we'll help
it,
mate. I think, no, look, they obviously, it's not like that. They're training at a certain level, which is good. I think that they whatever they do, we'll just ask them to top up, you know what I mean? And we can help with that as well. So it's not that big a deal. It's just a bit of hard work, mate, you know?
Stephen, when the team was leading by 15 points just after half-time, did you feel that the foot went off the accelerator a bit against a lesser team, or did you feel, what did you feel at that point?
Not really. What I did feel was that at half time, I think the players thought we should be further ahead, and we don't need to have that mentality. Like, we got to respect the opponent, and that Italy are a good side, and we just need to worry about executing our game plan over and over for 80 minutes. Doesn't matter who you're playing or what your expectations are of your opponent. So I think that maybe got us a little bit at half time, and I thought we came out and did all right after the break. But then, you know, once again, we had a couple of just decisions there that we didn't take the right option, you know, miss pass instead of just hitting the next person. Those little things, and then shift the pressure, and then it was, you know, way of advantage down in our half that, you know, they were able to score some points.
Michael, the stat going around that Israel's first Wallaby to score 3 consecutive doubles. How influential has he been this season?
He's been really good. Like, he's been he's been in very good, I think, form. He's been both on the field and off the field. You know, I think he's been encouraging his teammates, and yeah, I just think that's. I still think he's got more in him too. You know what I mean? We get him a bit more ball in the right position. He's got more in him as well. So. Yeah, I've been really pleased that he's been playing well, and that all was well for the championship too.
Stephen, you've played against the All Blacks many times. What do you see in this group and what they're trying to do that gives you confidence that it can be a pretty even test match on August 9th?
Our group? I think there's a core group there that has a hunger to be the best, and it doesn't matter if you're talking about New Zealand or England or South Africa, whoever it is. If you've got that drive to be the best, then you'll be competitive against every opponent. So once we get that internally and that critical mass of players that want to do that, then that'll be quite powerful. So, you know, there's some young players there. I think there's a bunch of players that have made their debuts now again in June. So we need to make sure that we take that group and make them into a world-class team, not just a top-class team, you know. So that's what we're trying to set up within the program. And it shouldn't be hard for Super Rugby to produce players that are ready to play Test match footy. Like, I don't know what the issue is there, but we need to make sure that the next 2 months or however long it is we can't waste a day.
Do you feel that difference when you go back to Super Rugby or when you start pre-season that there is a gap as a player? Like, do you feel, or is it not until you get to test time when you kind of notice?
Well, I suppose there naturally is a difference, isn't there? You know, there is a gap between Super Rugby and Test Rugby. The intensity's up, but that doesn't mean we can't train like we have to be able to play Test footy, and that's probably the key over the next period of time, is making sure, you know, we measure everything now, so we should be able to tell that stuff pretty easily.
Yeah, I don't want this discussion to go down where it's heading, you know what I mean? You know, they've got to get fitter in that time. Well, that's a discussion for us to have with the coaches. Right now, this is my responsibility to get the team fit enough to be ready for that game. Right, and so we started in these 3 weeks now. We'll continue it over the next few weeks while they're playing Super Rugby, and then when we get the opportunity, we'll get them in again, and along with the skill work that we want to do, we'll raise the fire a little bit more on getting them up to the level we think is needed to be competitive from a fitness point of view. Because it is, no matter whichever way you spin it, it's a key element to staying in the game. You know what I mean? You've got to play for 80, right, and you've got to play hard for 80. So you've got to be fit enough to do it.
Has Carmichael done enough over these 3 tests to put his name up in lights for a starting 12 spot?
Yeah, he's been good. He's been very good, you know. So it's going to be an interesting challenge, you know. Beale will be back soon as well. And I think Hodge in the games where he's come on has played quite well, even though he's filled a few different holes. And then, you know, there's some nice competition going on there too. We've still got, you know, Kyle Godwin who's played a test as well overseas for us last year, who didn't even get a look in here on this trip. So that's a good, healthy competition going on there.
When do you expect to get Curly back from the...
He'll be back in early July.
What's that, sorry?
Early July.
Sure.
So next week or so, and he'll start training again.
Michael, how do you work on the composure, concentration? We see the Wallabies aren't able to put 80 minutes of good football. They do great stuff, and then it will be a series of mistakes after mistakes that brings the opposition always back in control, always back. How do you correct that?
Yeah, you need to, like we were talking about, I think fitness is an important thing, so you stay lucid for the whole way. And then you also need to really, you know, there's always a bit of that turnaround period here in this time now. I learned it from last year and here, where the non-negotiables of our game have to be very, very clear. So when we say, you know, if we're talking about getting that ball through their hands and getting a second touch, that's got to be non-negotiable. And then at a certain point, once we drive that concept where we think, okay, everyone's got to understand that piece, then, you know, we have to select based on that. We have to select on the guys that are say, yeah, okay, this is the team strategy. I'm sticking to this. This is what I'm playing.
You obviously mentioned Carmichael. What have you made of some of the other guys who've made their debuts?
Yeah, well, look, I know Jack only played for a bit tonight, but I thought he was he had a good impact. And I think, you know, Joe Powell only had minimum time, but I think he's definitely a player for the future for us, no doubt whatsoever. I think Ned Hannigan has been selected for 3 tests. I think he's played 380 minutes. So obviously we want him to get to know how tough that is, and you know, and get in there and feel it. I think Eto, he also debuted as well. I think he did nothing wrong in his first game. I was always planning on. It was very close between Eto and Sefa. You know, and I think Sefa showed his quality tonight as well when he got a chance to finish. So I think the additions we've made have been strong, and they'll add to our depth overall, which is the plan, is to have depth and competition for places.
Do you have a tip for the Lions All Blacks?
I'm not a gambler, you know what I mean, but I think it'll be an interesting contest, no doubt about it, from the way it's been shaping up. It'll be good viewing, and we'll be taking a look at it with a view to, you know, how we play the All Blacks.
I was going to say,
yeah, of course.
Is that a part?
Yeah, now's the chance we can start doing that, you know. I think we've got to, we know that there's probably a lot of things we need to get ourselves together on, but we just got to go for the critical few that we can achieve over this next block of time. And I think we've talked about them pretty clearly here. And then from there, have ourselves a strategy that can get us to compete with them. And we'll see a little bit more of that after we see them play the 3 games against the British Lions.